Crafted by one of the greatest sculptors of the time, the Shaw Memorial on Beacon Hill has become an enduring symbol of liberty. It depicts the first black regiment in the Civil War. Now, a new exhibition at the Massachusetts Historical Society, all about that one piece of art, tells the story of the regiment's real men. WGBH News arts editor Jared Bowen joins me with more about that. So just to set the scene here, it's right across the street from the State House, and what is it? Describe what it depicts.
Well, a lot of people probably know it because it is this giant, massive sculpture, as you mentioned, at the top of Beacon Hill, and it depicts Robert Gould Shaw, and he's leaving Boston. He was from a very prominent family of a wealthy Boston family of abolitionists, and this depicts them going off to war. And again, as you just mentioned, these were the first black regiment. This was the first black regiment of the Civil War, and these were men who were fighting for liberty, who had the freedom to be able to go and fight for their own freedom. And so you see them leaving Boston, with Shaw at the head of the troops, going down to what ultimately was South Carolina, where they were involved in the Battle of Fort Wagner, where a lot of the troops died. More than half are injured or missing, including Robert Gould Shaw himself.
So these aren't the actual troops. What is the exhibition? How do they deal with that?
Well, this is so fascinating. First of all, I've never seen a whole exhibition just about one piece of art, but what the Massachusetts Historical Society has done, as you see here, is they've gone and looked at this regiment and at the men and in the history of this piece, and they're telling the real stories of the men now. So, of course, you know, these were soldiers who they've now found their diaries and memorabilia and pictures and letters from friends, medals that they were later awarded, and this is strewn out over 3 or 4 galleries at the Massachusetts Historical Society. And I talked to Peter Drumney recently, and he's the librarian there, about one of the great treasures of this exhibition is the fact that they have so many actual photographs of these men taken from the Civil War, and he explains why that happened.
It's also wonderful to see people who were proud of their uniforms and the accoutrements of their ranks as non-commissioned officers, their instruments as musicians. Often they'd pay to have the photograph hand-colored to bring out the gold of their buttons or their belt buckle or the different colors of parts of their uniform.
So the sculptor, was he totally aware of all this history? Did he do all that research before he did the piece?
He was. It was very important to him to do this piece, and it actually started out as an equestrian statue because that was what you did in that time to sort of distinguish yourself. That was the model. But of course he was working about 20 years after the fact, and so he didn't have the actual men to work from, so he hired models. But he was obsessed with this piece, and it was actually Robert Gould Shaw's family who said you should depict the men and not just him necessarily. But I also spoke to their curator, Anne Bentley, about Augustus St. Gaudens's obsession with the perfectionism of this piece.
There are several series of 4 deep heads that are behind the horse that you will never see. You could get up on a ladder and look down, you'll never see the faces. But we've been loaned modern casts of these sets of faces, so this is one place you can come and actually see the hidden heads.
So what she's really getting at there is he was so obsessive about this, so even pieces of that sculpture that you couldn't see, he has done there, and you can actually see them for the first time as they've amassed, you know, all the memorabilia from this piece.
I'll never look at that the same.
Which is the point, and neither will I.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Jared Bowen, thank you.